Hi everyone, this is Mason with Kentucky Hidden Wonders. Before we get to today's episode, we want to hear from you. Do you know someone who would make a great guest for Kentucky Hidden Wonders? Fill out the form online at visitshelbyky.com/podcast to nominate a guest. On to the show.
Welcome to Kentucky Hidden Wonders. I'm Jeanette Marson.
And I'm Mason Warren.
Together, we're uncovering the secrets, stories, and hidden gems of Shelby County, Kentucky.
From unforgettable places to off-the-beaten-path adventures, join us as we explore Kentucky treasures and Shelby County's best-kept secrets.
Today's guests are Judge Dan Ison and Debbie Holloway Ison. Welcome to Kentucky Hidden Wonders. We're so glad to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Well, I know you both are have a lot of things you do in Shelby County, but first, let's just one at a time, tell a little bit about yourself, just a little bit of background, what you're doing right now, and then we'll get into the real meat of it. I wanted to know about your equine, but first tell me a little bit about yourself.
I've been a professional coach and speaker for 25 years. I've retired mostly from the coaching. I just train speakers now, and I work with the horses. I'm not getting ready to, but my quarter horse in reining is getting ready to drop a baby in the next 2 or 3 days.
Ooh.
So that's pretty exciting.
Exciting.
So I'm working with that, and I do women's events. I've got a women's event in a couple of weeks in Oregon wine country, where women get together and talk about women's issues as it relates to balancing work and personal life and home life.
Oh, I knew you were a wonderful speaker and you traveled all over, but that's wonderful.
Thank you.
And then real estate as well.
I've actually been in real estate for 40 years. I still have a license. I don't actively sell now. I typically refer people to some really great agents here in Shelby County. But I do invest. And I flip properties, and I'm getting ready to plan a subdivision I'm going to build. So, yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. Oh, my goodness. I think I would love to sit in one of your women's, one of the speaker events that you have for women. I bet it would be wonderful.
I would love for you to. In fact, you can join Women Impacting Real Estate. If you go onto Facebook, Women Impacting Real Estate, you can join that page if you want. I typically, or someone in my group will do something, and then I'm hopefully going to be doing a women's event this fall here.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, I will. And listeners, there you have it. We will all be joining that group.
Thank you.
Yep.
Judge Ison?
Well, I've been the county judge here in Shelby County for the past 10 years. It's one of the highest honors I've had. Life has been very good to me. I've had very broad-based life, corporate life, military. I'm a combat veteran from Vietnam. Debbie and I met almost 40 years ago. It was a interesting meeting. We were both on Derby Festival board and met at that meeting. We've been married for 34 years now. I think
36.
36. I was close, 36. And we both have love for horses. And being here in Shelby County, the saddlebred capital of the world, they've let a cowboy and a cowgirl come in, Debbie with her quarter horses. I primarily stay over on the racehorsing side of it. I've always loved the racetrack, going back to the early 60s where I was an usher at Churchill Downs and would wipe seats out. But I would sit there and think, I want a racehorse. I want to be at Churchill Downs. Well, I've accomplished that, and nothing feels better than to walk into that winner's circle with your horse. And our partners in racing are great. Debbie and I have a great deal of fun. I've become very good at mucking stalls, and she's become great at having wonderful baby horses on the farm.
Oh, well, that's wonderful. I know I wish it was video because I wish the listeners could see your faces. I know there's more of a story about how you two met because I was watching your faces. But I do want to say, when I first started my job here in tourism, I was so excited to meet you, our first meeting, and you were wonderful. I knew that you knew marketing and advertising because of your career. It was so refreshing to have a judge executive that knew exactly what tourism was supposed to be doing, and you knew marketing. So that was fantastic.
Well, I spent 30 years in the corporate world working government relations, community relations. I've been very honored to be with everybody from Tom Cruise's mother and I worked together, Dolly Parton, many country stars.
You worked with Dolly Parton?
Dolly Parton, I'll tell you a great story. I was producing a concert. Dolly had just finished up. I put her in the limousine, and I jumped in, and it was a jump seat, and it was on her leg, and I jumped in, and she said, oh, you're on my foot, I couldn't get up. I could not get up, and finally
I've got a visual.
I got off her foot, and her husband, Carl, was with her, and it was the first time Carl had seen her perform. And he had his arm around her. They were in the corner of the limousine, and she turned to him and she says, was I good tonight? And he says, honey, you were so wonderful. And I'm sitting there thinking, you're the #1 female country music star. You couldn't be anything other than wonderful. But it was so great to share those moments.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great story. Just what we want to hear.
Well, he produced that show for many, many years during Derby Week, and we've met so many celebrities and politicians and generals, and he's got so many great stories. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, I bet.
Lee Greenwood introduced at my show, God Bless the USA, and he stood on the stage and sung that song to General Schwarzkopf, who was the guest of Philip Morris at the Derby. So many neat things that we've done.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. So you said you kind of got you piqued your interest in the horse industry when you were working at Churchill Downs, but how did you, Debbie, how did you get started in the horse world?
Well, as I've said before, when I was about 4 years old, I guess because there were 4 of us kids, we were talking about what we wanted to be when we grew up. And I said, I want to be a horse. And luckily that did not work out.
Yeah.
But when I was 12 or 13, a friend of mine at school said, there's a horse farm over the hill down the road from where you live. And it was very country. I lived in Middletown. And my mom was busy with the other kids. And I thought, well, I'll sneak over there and see. So I did. And there was a huge barn, nobody there, I thought, except all these horses. And I'm just in awe. And all of a sudden I hear the stall door creak. And this man walks out with a horse. And I'd always wanted to have a horse like Scout.
Okay.
From the Lone Ranger, Tonto's horse, because he was white and black. And he walks out with a horse that looks just like Scout, only huge.
Yeah.
He was part draft. And he's walking towards me like, what are you doing here? And I said, oh my gosh, is that your horse? He said, no, I'm getting ready to go put him down. I said, put him down? He goes, yeah, he was a companion for one of our thoroughbreds, and that one died, so we're going to kill him too. And I'm like, you can't kill this horse. I'll take him. Yeah. Give me your horse. And I can't imagine what that man was thinking of a 12-year-old begging for a horse. So he said, here, gave me the lead line and left. And a few minutes later, he came back, and I'm just standing there looking at this huge horse. And he goes, all right, look, you can have him. Just leave and don't come back, and you can't bring him back either. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah. So
I'm walking down the road to bring him home, and it was getting dark.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's going to be great. We've got a barn, even though we've got cows in it. I can make this work. And then it dawned on me, I'm going to have to tell my mother when I get there. So I snuck in the back of the field, snuck all the way around the edge, put him in the barn. I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to say to Mom, look, they eat grass. That doesn't cost anything. Yeah. They drink water. That doesn't cost anything. He will cost nothing for us to have him. Practicing and get to the back door, and she's standing there with her arms crossed. Did you really think you'd get that thing in here without telling me? She was so mad. And all I could think of as she's telling me this isn't going to work, I got to take him back, is that I can't take him back. I don't want to have to tell her I can't take him back. Yeah. But she finally let me keep him.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's what started it.
Okay.
And you had that horse for a long time?
I had him, well, he was old, and he was foundered and very large. I mean, you could sit 4 of us. Sitting on his back was like sitting on a table. About 6 years later, he passed. But I just learned so much from him because he was so gentle. And that just started it from there. And from that point on, I felt like I needed to have a horse in my life all the time.
Oh, and you have, I think.
I do.
So you have 2 very different equine experiences, I believe. Debbie, tell us a little bit about your quarter horses and what you do with them.
Well, because I started with Patches, my first horse, I know he had draft. I know he had quarter horse. I'm not sure what all he had in him. I just fell in love with quarter horses, their size, their agility, the way they were built. And I stumbled on a horse in Vermont on a farm where my friend lived. And there were 2 actually, and they were being neglected. And she said, both of these are the daughters of the most famous reining horse in America, Colonel Smoking Gun. And I, at that point, was like, okay, that must be good. And she said, yeah, we should buy him. So she bought one. I bought the other for just nothing, brought her down here, and that started my breeding for reining. And she had 7 babies. And now I've got another Colonel Smoking Gun granddaughter that I've bred to a vintage smoke for those people that know reining. And she's due any day now. So I've bred for many years, probably 10 years now I've been breeding.
Oh, that's amazing. That is amazing.
I'm always curious where, like, how horses get their names and things like that. Like, it always just, sometimes it feels like it's a full sentence, like,
well, it is because you want to combine the dam and you want to combine the sire. Okay. You want both of those names in there. Like, for example, one of my horses, I put it on Facebook for people to pick out names, and the winning name was Gonna Stop for a Blonde.
Okay.
It's a long story, but there's always different names. So I have to figure out a name for this one. Okay. And I said to my granddaughter, I'll let you help me name him. Yeah. And she said, well, let's name him Djibouti. I'm like, Djibouti? It's a made-up name that as she used to play when she was younger. She'd play this game, and Djibouti was her friend. Okay. And I'm like, well, could we maybe think of something else? She said, nope, Djibouti it is. I'm like, I got to figure out what to do.
Yeah, got to make that work with something. So,
You could be doing business as Djibouti.
Like you call that horse Djibouti. I'm going to have to come up with something else. Yeah. So we will combine Annie's sparkling gun with a vintage smoke. So if anybody's got an idea of a name, I haven't decided on one yet. So you just combine the names, like Annie's sparkling smoke, or
I was going to say like vintage gun of Djibouti or something like that. So I'm trying to work that in for you, for your granddaughter.
Oh yeah,
that's funny.
So I've got to work on a name.
Okay.
And when I started with horses, what got me into really doing the groundwork with them was something called join up that I learned many years ago from a clinic I went to. Yeah. And I do it now out at Horse Sensing as a volunteer. And there's a group coming out next Tuesday, and a lot of tours will stop by. And if they request it, I can do a join up demonstration, because horses are really very much like people. People typically don't fight, they flight. They run away from trouble, and they run away from their problems. And you have to get them to want to come and get help. And I work through this process where they bring a horse in the ring that is completely bucking and kicking and running and wants nothing to do with anyone. And by the time I'm done, he is following me around without a halter, just following me. He'll back up with me. He'll walk forward. And join up is a wonderful thing to do for horses, to calm them down and bring them into your herd, because they want to be part of your herd. Yeah. They just don't know how.
I've seen a demonstration of that at when you were at Horse Sensing. There was a bus group that was out there. It was fascinating. I grew up in Shelby County. I did not grow up around horses, so I'm still a little like, I'm going to keep a distance. And so it was fascinating to watch that process.
We do it for PTSD, for veterans in recovery, for anyone in recovery. And we did it one time for Isaiah House, which was a group of women. And after we got done, and this is what made me realize this is something we should do more often, because it was the first time we did it. We do a 1-hour meeting afterwards. And one of the women said, I felt like Debbie was God and I was the horse. And she was telling me, just come sit with me and you'll be okay. Just join up with me. And she's crying and saying, now I get it. Now I know it's okay to ask for help. And something like that is so deep for someone in recovery that it's important for them to see that you do this with others and they can connect.
Oh, that is amazing. So many things you can do through that equine industry, therapy, and then Judge Ison, you have a completely different experience with horses. And I am just dying to know, like, what was your first horse? What got you started to making your Churchill Downs dreams come true? Tell me the story.
What was that path?
Yes.
There's a couple of parts of it. When I was, I want to say 4 or 5 years old, there was a racetrack in Louisville called Douglas Park. And at Douglas Park was a racehorse that was named Sergeant Bill. I would go over in the morning and give a sugar cube to Sergeant Bill. And he and I took up, and I loved Sergeant Bill.
Yeah.
There was a racetrack fire. Sergeant Bill died in that fire. And it was very emotional as 4-year-old to 5-year-old to lose my horse. But it showed the love I had for horses. In about the 6th grade, I was in school. The teacher said, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" I said, "I want to own a racehorse farm." And the teacher said, and it was one of the greatest motivations I've ever had, "Be realistic, Danny. You'll never have a horse farm."
Oh.
That drove me
Yeah.
to have my horse farm. It drove me to have my horses. I've had probably 15 racehorses. I love the track. I worked on the racetrack for 4 years. I was the track photographer in what was called the Film Patrol. When you see the running of a race, I used to take those movies. Now, show my age, it was 16 millimeter film that I did this with. But I was going to be a professional photographer on the races. I was traveling all the Kentucky circuit.
Yeah.
I was getting ready to go to Florida for the winter for the circuit. And Uncle Sam said, "I'd rather you come to Vietnam." I joined the Air Force with the understanding I'd go to photography school. I got out of the basic training, and they said, "You're going to be a policeman." And I told the assignment sergeant, I said, "I'm a photographer.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be taking pictures." And I'll never forget, he said, "Son, we don't need people to take pictures of this war. We need people to fight it." That ended my working career, but I still wanted to have horses. Debbie and I got married. We came out here and bought a farm. I had rescued a horse. I went to buy equipment for our farm, and I found 2 horses in 10 by 10 stalls that were not being treated properly. And I said to the lady, I said, "Can I buy that horse?" She said, "You have to buy them both." I said, "I don't want 2 horses. I just would like this one." She said, "If you're going to buy them, you have to buy them both." And I thought, okay, I'll do it. And I rescued them both. And I called Debbie and I said, "I need some help." She said, What'd you buy? I said, "I bought 2 horses." She said, "You went to buy pitchforks." I said, I know, but I bought these horses and
We've all been there.
Yes.
I don't know how to get them home.
Yeah.
So we literally walked these horses 2 miles to get them home. One of them was an appendix, which is part thoroughbred, part quarter horse. Player was his name. Player and I became dear friends. If I had a problem, I went to the barn and Player and I talked. I'd promised Player, as long as I was alive, Player would have a good home. Player passed away about a year ago. We had Player for 30 years.
Oh,
Wow.
Wow.
And to this day, when I walk to the barn, I can see Player with his head hung over the stall saying, "Where you been?"
Yeah.
But horses, as Debbie says, they can mean so much in your life. Player gave me somebody to confide in, somebody that I could go out and say, "It's been a really bad day, Player. How are you doing?"
Yeah.
That's the enjoyment of our horses now. I've got a 3-year-old that's on the racetrack. We're partners and I are getting ready to take it out to Churchill, get him all certified, and we'll probably take him to California. I've always wanted to race in California, and California has a wonderful deal. They will pay our shipping costs for our thoroughbred.
Really?
And the first race we run in, if we win, they will add 40% to the purse. So a $100,000 race becomes a $140,000 race.
Wow.
I can't wait to fly to California to see my horse run.
I bet. Oh, my goodness. So have you ever had a horse in the Kentucky Derby?
I haven't gotten there. That's always a horse owner's dream. I have been in a movie. I was at a bit part where I stood in the winner's circle with the Derby trophy, and that's as close as I've come to a Derby horse.
Oh, well, I say it's in your future. I definitely, and shame on that teacher. Some people, that would break somebody, you know, if you're in elementary school to hear that. But I'm so glad that it fired you up to make your dream come true.
Best motivation I've ever had.
I think a lot of times people will be discouraging, and it will motivate me as well. But yeah, I'm so glad it didn't discourage you. Is there anything that you have not told, that a hidden secret, not a secret, but a hidden fact or something that you have always wanted people to know about you? So I was very interested about the Tom Cruise story and the Dolly Parton. That was wonderful. Maybe something, now California's coming up. Anything else that's big for either one of you?
Well, I will say, and I don't know, I'm pretty sure everyone here knows this. He is a huge John Wayne fan. If you go in his office at the courthouse, he's got more John Wayne sayings. You know, I won't repeat some of them. He loves everything John Wayne. We've got a cutout, stand-up, full-size cardboard image of John Wayne in the basement. He's just a huge John Wayne fan.
So the question is, did you ever meet John Wayne?
I did meet John Wayne.
There we go.
And it was so interesting. I'm standing out at a country club under a tree having a bourbon when a friend brings John up and introduces me. And I said, Mr. Wayne, it's such an honor to meet you. He said, please call me John Wayne. And I said,
no,
Mr. John Wayne.
He said, call me John. He's like, okay, Mr. John Wayne.
That's funny.
And we stood there,
So
and I said, John, nobody's going to believe that I stood in Kentucky drinking bourbon with John Wayne. I said, can I get a picture? He said, how you want to pose it? I said, man, just stand beside me and don't move.
Exactly.
But his philosophy that he conveyed in the movies is something that I truly love. I was giving a speech the other night when we were talking about roads in Shelby County and accidents that were occurring. And I said, I must quote John Wayne when I make this statement. You just can't fix stupid. So, you know, we can repair the road, but if you're going to drive down the road with your iPhone up and you're trying to text, you just can't fix stupid.
Well, we could end right there. Thank you both for being on our program, Kentucky Hidden Wonders. And Debbie, thank you for all that you do for therapy, for the women of the United States, not just here in Shelby County. And Judge Ison, I can't tell you thanks enough for being a great judge, for leading our county, for making us prosperous, for being a friend, for me being able to talk to you and Mason as well. We adore you both, and thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you. It was an honor.
Kentucky Hidden Wonders is a Shelby KY Tourism production. Your hosts are Jeanette Larson and Mason Warren. To learn more about Shelby KY Tourism and to start planning a visit, head to visitshelbyky.com.